What's going on, kettlebellers? I like talking about random things on my channel. So, if you haven't noticed my bizarre assortment of topics, I'm going to continue that trend. We're going to talk today about artificial intelligence. I see a lot of people talking about like the rise of the machines, and they're terrified that artificial intelligence is going to take over and leave people completely without jobs and all of these terrible things, or even rise up and kill humanity like in Terminator or The Matrix. The first thing with that is there's no reason to assume that artificial intelligence is going to necessarily be malicious or hate humanity. It's not like humanity is inherently evil. It's not inherently good. It just is. What would happen with artificial intelligence is it would reflect its programming. First off, that's what you have to understand. Just like children reflect their parents and the way they were raised, there's, of course, they also have the genetic traits that they inherited from their parents. Artificial intelligence would have a lot of that as well. If it's a benevolent creator, if you will, benevolent programmer, I love people. Let's put this into the code of the program. Chances are good your artificial intelligence is going to look kindly towards people. If it's some evil mastermind sociopath kind of want to take over the world type, maybe it'll have a little bit more of a malicious bent to it. This is the big thing that I think a lot of people miss with discussions and talks about artificial intelligence and the capacities of artificial intelligence. What we have to understand is there's a difference between means and ends. Artificial intelligence, even not artificial intelligence, even just computers as they are very good at selecting means. That's basically what you do. Anytime you create a program, you are allowing it the ability to select means and streamline processes so that things can get done quickly and easily. The difference between, say, artificial intelligence and a human being, or a computer and a human being, is the ability to select ends. So the end is the goal. It's what you're aiming at. It's what you're going for. Computers currently lack the capacity to choose anything on their own. Now, if you write a program and stuff, they can choose means, but you still have to tell it at what end it is aiming. And once you have assigned an end, then it can act towards that. It can do whatever it deems necessary or is within its working parameters to accomplish that end. Now, the movie Ex Machina comes to mind, where they're trying to make an argument that this girl is somehow successful artificial intelligence, and she's not, because throughout the whole movie, her whole end is to get out of the facility. If you haven't seen the movie, spoiler alert, might be a little late for that, sorry, but her whole end is to get out of the facility. Okay? She does all kinds of stuff, manipulates people, manipulates characters, things like that, to get out of the facility. But I would argue that at that point in time, she would lose her capacity to make decisions, because, okay, she's out of the facility. What now? But the movie ends right there, so you don't really know. Does she go become a human in the world? You don't know. There would be a lot that she would lack in terms of capacity, decision-making capacity. The reason for that, the reason for all of human life being superior and artificial intelligence not quite living up to the possibility or potential possibilities of human life, is the fact that machines lack the ability to choose ends because they lack mortality. So human beings choose ends specifically because we have a limited amount of time on the planet. We have to make decisions based on our immediate needs, wants, and desires in order to stay alive. And then once we do that, then we can start proceeding to achieving higher ends beyond our immediate survival. But even then, we still have to decide what ends are the most worthwhile for us to pursue because we have a limited amount of time in which to pursue those ends. You know, what career do you take? What friends do you have? What romantic partner you choose to end up with? Do you have kids? These are really big, important decisions, but we make them, and we make them, we decide upon them based on the fact that we have a limited amount of time to work with these different things. Women can really only have kids up until they're in the early 40s, and at that point, even from 35 to 45, you're risking genetic complications. So there is a finite amount of time in which you can have kids. So you really have to make that decision at a particular point in time. Do you pursue that end of having children or not? Artificial intelligence doesn't have that. Artificial intelligence is not limited in terms of its scope of life. It could essentially live forever. It could essentially be immortal. So it has no incentive to choose ends because it can kind of do whatever it wants. It's not limited by anything. Now, you could make the argument that it is limited by power supply, so it has a direct incentive to continue to produce energy in whatever way it can. That's certainly a definitive argument you can make so that it can stay alive and stay turned on, if you will, conscious, basically sentient. And in doing that, it can decide how best to allocate resources or how best to interact with individuals or other systems that can provide it with resources. Because even if you create a machine that is completely sentient, it can control the entire internet, however you want to think about it, it lacks the capacity to go out and drill and pull oil out of the ground and refine it and turn it into gasoline, or dig up coal and turn it into electricity, or a hydroelectric plant, whatever power source you want to think of. It lacks the capacity, so it necessarily is going to have to interact with human beings in some way, in some capacity, in order to, if nothing else, transform the system so they can be completely automated, for completely automated power generation, which that would benefit machines and human beings quite a bit, because anytime you free up labor from life-sustaining pursuits, you make the world a better place. A century ago, 98% and 97% of the population was involved in agriculture. Now it's like 2 or 3%. Think about how much better off we are because we don't have so many people toiling away at the ground. And you might say that machines will make all of the occupations of human beings obsolete. I don't think it will. However, it will free us up to pursue other things, assuming we live in a society that is free enough in order to pursue those things. So this notion that artificial intelligence is a threat to human life, I think, is fallacious. And this notion that it is anywhere near capacity to make decisions on its own, choose its own ends. It can choose means to an extent if it's programmed the right way, but I have yet to see anything that would indicate that any type of artificial intelligence scheme is capable of choosing its own ends, mainly because a lot of the people that work on it and program it and everything, haven't seen any indication that they even understand that concept, that the end goal is not a machine or program or sentience, artificial intelligence, whatever, that can choose means on its own to accomplish ends, but a system that could choose its own ends. And I think that is when you have legitimate artificial intelligence. And I haven't seen anything that indicates that most people understand that concept, let alone machines. And if the creator can't understand it, I have a hard time believing that the creation would be able to understand it. At least not immediately, not right away. So until you have people that can understand that, which is really what it's all about. It's about people being able to understand that there's a difference between ends and means. And choosing to eat breakfast is if your end is I want breakfast and you choose to eat breakfast, then you're satisfying that end. But if your goal is to be healthy or have energy for the day, then eating breakfast is just a means to that end. There's a difference there. There's a distinction there. It's a necessary requirement for you to understand that. And that is all necessitated, our necessity to make decisions about what to value, not just how to achieve it, but what to value is a necessary consequence of our mortality. The fact that we only have so much time on this planet, we have to make the most of it. Otherwise, there's no point in living. It comes from the fact that, we're going to die one day. So we have to make the most out of our relationships, make the most out of our choices, our lives, choose the best possible ends so that we're getting the most out of our lives, and then choose the appropriate means to accomplish those ends. And until artificial intelligence would have that life-limiting requirement, I don't foresee how it could achieve its own set of, ends choosing abilities, which would be signifier of true artificial intelligence, artificial independence of thought. Those are my thoughts. I think it's pretty interesting, and I think a lot of people miss the ball, at least in the circles and the videos and stuff that I've seen on artificial intelligence. It seems to me that that is something that is very much missed, overlooked. It's also overlooked considerably in human life as well, our own lives as individuals. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll try to continue making these bizarre topic videos if you like them. And thanks for tuning in, and we'll get back to you soon. Thanks.